Welcome to this video. We're going to close out and wrap up our 2024 series reading goal. This was inspired by books like Whoa. I will have any related reviews or videos linked down below. Before we get started, let's just make a note of the goals that we had. We had two main goals. The first one was 25 or more series in progress. This just means the series that I have started but not finished. And the second goal was 25 or more series completed or up to date. When I say up to date, I just mean all the books in the series that have been released, I have read and am up to date on them. There may be more coming out in the series, but they are not really. This is only going to include January 2024 to November 2024. I'm going to include any of my December 2024 stats into my 2025 stats, and I'm just doing that so that I can wrap up and put these videos up in a timely manner. Reviewing the first goal, we're going to go over where we are at each quarter and then where we've ended up. Again, the first goal was 25 or less series in progress. In the first quarter, I was up by 8 series. I did get that down to 30 in the second and third quarter. Unfortunately, I am back up to 33. We haven't really gained much progress. There are a few series that I have added since quarter 2/3 due to life circumstances. I didn't do the best job updating. My goal is to do much better in the next year. The series I added was Cemetery Boys, which was a wonderful YA fantasy book. The first book was about Yadriel, who was trying to prove himself to his family as a Brujah because his family was not fully accepting him for who he was. The character development was exceptionally well done. I loved learning all about the traditions of the Day of the Dead. I think this was such a well-rounded, well-developed book. There is another one in the series, and I'm very excited for it. The next series is a Kitty Collins series. I thought it was going to be a cozy mystery. The first one is How to Kill Men and Get Away with It. I thought the series was going to be a cozy mystery, more like a Finlay Donovan or one of the ice cream parlors or like the Auntie series. It is not. It comes out with a bang. It definitely is something else. I heard somebody compare it to a female Dexter. I think that's a great comparison. I also love the dry British humor, but essentially this woman, Kitty Collins, is trying to enact justice for what she believes for women. This is such a fun book. It's kind of dark. It's definitely not a cozy mystery, but it's definitely engaging, fast-paced. So there is another one coming out next year, I believe in March, and I'm really excited to continue the series and see what she gets up to now. Then another series was the Crimson Moss series. This was a book of the month that I picked strictly because I liked the cover. It turned out to be a absolutely wonderful fantasy romance. It was on one of my best books of 2024. I will link that video up above. But I loved the characters. I love the world development. So Rune is the Crimson Moth. She is trying to save witches from being witch hunted. However, she falls for Gideon Sharp, who is like the most notorious witch hunter, and love ensues, adventure ensues. There is so much. They're trying to solve everything. I just think it was so well done and so fun. I'm really excited to read the next one. Moving on to our second main goal, 25 or more series in progress. So we started the year at 16, so 9 away. We had some catching up to do. We did get that up to 22 series completed or up to date in the second, third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, we are finishing at 24 series completed or up to date. So we are missing it by one series. I will state if we had included December, I could have wrapped up one of those. Also, some of these I would complete and then a book would be released within that time. So some of that is related to that. I think that's going to be one of the difficult points with trying to keep that number where we want it to be. So it will take some forethought to keep that number up. We're just going to quickly go over the series that I did complete this year. The first one was the Abby Mullen series. Abby Mullen was a crisis negotiator. She also grew up in a cult, so she is trying to help people escape cults. It was a very intriguing, very fast-paced series. I did think it ended at a really good point. It didn't become too redundant. It was a really fun, well-done series that I hadn't quite seen at quite the angle of crisis negotiator, past cult survivor scenario. The next one, the Beck Sister series, is a romance series. Off the Map is the third, fourth, I don't remember. I don't remember exactly if it's the third or fourth one, but it is in also my favorites of 2024 series. This is following different sisters as they fall in love. It's really fun. It's really well done. The characters are well developed. The relationships are fun to watch develop. One thing I do enjoy is that it's not too ridiculous, the situations or the misunderstandings that the couples have. So I think that's something that I enjoy in a romance series. I'm not sure if there are any more coming out on this, but I think it was a fun series to follow along. The next series is a constant series. It's a sci-fi series. I really enjoyed the first one. The second one, not so much. It did end up on my least favorites, but mostly because it was the least favorite sci-fi I read this year, not necessarily because it was bad. There's no more series showing it's coming out for me. I'm kind of on the fence of if another one comes out, whether I would read it or not continue on with the series just because I had such a high and such an with the other ones. So I think for me, it's ending on a good place. The next series, the Jessica Niemi series by Moxie. No surprise there that I absolutely love this series. I do not want it to end. However, I don't see any more books listed as coming out or anything talking about another book coming out, which is a little disappointing. The fourth one in the series was a little bit different, so it could kind of make sense to end on that one. However, this is a finished detective series. The amount that you get to delve into who Jessica is, she's this really great detective, but she also has quite the past and quite the history, mysteries that they're trying to solve, and the characters of who each one. There's so many layers to the mysteries, to the characters, to everything. It is just such a fun, well-rounded book. I have read them multiple times and will continue to because there's so many little Easter eggs in it that I think each time you read it, you still learn a little bit more. The next series, the Laura Chambers series, I have some feelings about this. I really enjoyed the first one. I think that Laura Chambers is kind of hard to like at points. I think some of that is written into the series. However, in the second one, I just really could not get behind her and some of the things that she did. They weren't good. I also think that there was like this whole story that was being developed to be the second one that put some plot holes in the first one. Like, if this was such a big deal and such a big story, I felt like there should have been hints of it to the first to draw them together. I think maybe if they had been their own standalone books, that's one thing. But overall, I just really did not enjoy Laura Chambers after the second one. So, kind of one of those very subjective reasons to not like it. Next is the Littenverse series. It's a sci-fi novella series. I had fun reading it. It didn't blow me away or anything. It's just kind of one of those meh series, but I completed it. So we're done. Next is the Night World series, which is YA fantasy series. I will just say it's on my least favorite of 2024 and my absolutely least favorite. I'm done with that series. It was awful. It's an older series, so there's no more books coming out, but there's no sustenance to the stories. So glad it's done. Honestly, if I was going to DNF a series, that would have been a great one to DNF. But I had bought a box set and they were all pretty, and since I own them, might as well read them. They're short. Got through it. Still don't know if I agree with that decision. Stillhouse Lake series. This was worth reading for the first 3-ish books, and then it became ridiculous and just not worth the read. So if you want to read the series, maybe read the first 3 and then just forget about the rest. But this is about a woman whose husband is an infamous serial killer, and they have to keep moving around so as to protect her children. They're trying to settle in Stillhouse Lake, and obviously things go awry, and it goes on. Good book for the first 3, again, but the other ones I didn't think were really worth the read. Some of it was like, let's figure out how not to make this happen anymore. The next series is the Housemaid series by Freida McFadden, a very popular series. There was 3 main books and then a short little novella add-on that she did to kind of bring book 2 and 3 together. I believe this is the end of it. I think she did a really great job with it. It's very fast-paced mystery thriller book where the maid is helping women escape bad situations almost. I think it's really well done. The characters are fun. Then book 3 is a little bit different. It's a little bit more focused on Millie's life, which was fun. I think a great way to, one, end the series, and also just to make it not too redundant. I also think adding in the short story just to combine them together to close the gap between 2 and 3 was really well done. I think she did a great job. I think the series ended very perfectly, and another really great series where all of them are worth reading. The Shepherd King series is a duology about prophecy cards. There's One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. That's also on my least favorite. I have done reviews on both of those books. The first one I thought was intriguing. I thought the idea of these prophecy cards and this dark magic, fever, blood was interesting. I wanted to continue on. The first one ends on a cliffhanger, so I definitely thought it was a book that I enjoyed enough that I wanted to know what happened to the characters. I wasn't blown away or anything. The second book, I think what the writer did really good was adding more points of view, which I wish would have been in the first one. Again, I don't think this needs to be the 2 books. I don't think the second one really added to the world building and to adding depth to it. It just kind of felt like we were making it really long. So I'm done with that series. Whether another one comes out, the second book just really ruined the whole series for me. And again, I've seen people just absolutely loving that series. I think maybe if you really connected with the first characters and were absolutely obsessed with the first one, I think you're going to like the second one, just not for me. Wimble House is a fun fantasy. I'm currently up to date with it. There is another one coming out, fun fantasy. So it's done as in up to date, but we will be continuing to read. Given the finished stats, I know it looks like I completed 8 series, but just again, because some series I completed and then another book gets released, it goes back on to the not completed, so the numbers look kind of funky. I also did end up adding a few more DNFs since the last time I updated, and those are going to be the Ice Cream Parlor series by Abby Collette. I have reviewed shortly this one on my least favorites. I just think that the character, so it starts with this woman's trying to revamp her family's ice cream store, and she's trying to do it in the middle of winter. That guy shows up. Mystery ensues. Supposed to be kind of a cozy mystery, maybe a little funny. It's not funny. The situations she gets herself into are just ridiculous, and it's just one of those books that I just find like we're trying to be as silly and ridiculous as possible, but it's not really funny. It just annoyed me more than anything. Another series was Dragon Lord series, Barbarian Prince. Another one that was on my least favorite. This is a fantasy romance with absolutely no sustenance. Half the situations could have been resolved if we literally used words, but part of it was they couldn't talk. It was weird. Not for me. Also very long. If you want a book that's literally about smut and then also a world that just revolves around it, maybe it works for you. Go for it. Another series, Foreign Soldiers. I have some very mixed feelings about this. It's very strange. I just couldn't quite get invested. Like, I'm happy I read the first one, but I don't really want to continue on with the series, so I'm happy to leave it where it is. I do know it's a pretty popular series. I know T. Kingfisher is kind of unique. I did read Hollow Places. That review is either up or should be up, and I thought that book was amazing. So I think it's just last series I DNF'd was the Broken Earth trilogy. Please Don't Come For Me by N.K. Jemisin. I think there's a lot of world building. There's a lot of depth. I understand what it is. It was just more than I was willing to take on. I didn't quite get invested or really care to continue on. That's why we're DNFing it, not necessarily because it was like a terrible book or anything like that. I have added more series to the list that I want to read. I'm not going to go over each of those. Obviously, we started the year at 176 total series, whether that was in progress, need to start, haven't started, what, and now we're up to 212. So that's quite a bit. We don't need to go into those details. As I read them, I will add to them. But I will be posting a video later kind of kicking off the 2025 series reading challenge. I did have fun with this. If you have any series you think I need to read, any suggestions, comments, anything related to this, please leave a comment down below and I will see you in the next one. Bye.